to the cloud. Okay.
Hello, welcome everyone. This is our first Gaia Girl Collaborative meeting, and I have here some incredible women, amazing women that are intuitive healers and energy workers, and I'd like for each one of them to introduce themselves to you. And also, I just want to say we are going to be talking today about soul and life purpose and why it is so important now and why it's so needed. So Trisha, go right ahead.
Oh, so purpose, that's right up my alley. I'm a numerologist. You remember in high school when you learned about Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Remember, and really small at the tippy top was self-actualization. And Eckhart Tolle tells us our pain is caused by that we are resisting the present moment. And I just had an aha moment that when we start learning who we are, as Maslow suggested, and we stop resisting it, just like Eckhart teaches, magic happens. And I use numerology for that magic to help people with their life purpose. And I have the number 3 behind me, very purposefully, because it's part of my numerology, and it's about being on the page and on the stage. So I'm finally understanding my life purpose and helping others to do that.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for that. Let's go on over to Jean.
Hi, I'm Jeannie Sumrall, and I'm a spiritual cheerleader, which everybody needs right now to try and get through this chaotic and strange times that we're in. We've never seen this before in our lives, so it's a whole new experience for all of us. I also do oracle card readings. I'm an intuitive reader, and my guides are almost always spot on. Life purpose is something that I have sought my whole life, ever since I was a young child, and had to wait all these years to discover it in the last couple of years. It's been a long journey. And right now, my main purpose is just to hold the light for everybody and just keep my heart light shining with as much energy as I can, because the world needs it right now. We all need to open our hearts up and give everybody else a hand. So as long as us light workers are standing there, letting our light shine with the highest possible light that we can come up with, we're actually doing our purpose right now in regards to everything else that we're doing. So that's it pretty much.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Nina?
Hello, my name is Nina, and I am a life coach, women's empowerment life coach, and a therapist. Natural born healer, and I assist women in transitory psychology, so in transitions, different periods of transitions, and I help them engage in their creative light, which is something that is always a working process, given that there is different forces at work here on the planet currently, and that's always something different. So that is what I do, and I love the work that I do, and as I empower others, I empower myself. And so I've been doing this work for probably about 12 years. And went on to get my master's degree in clinical psychology and become a therapist. And I can still say that I don't really, always learning. And I always like to help people shift into their full potential. So, and women in general, I feel that that is my population that I like to work with the most. Yeah. So thank you for having me. Yeah.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And Jate.
Hi, my name is Jate, and I am a astrologer and tarot reader. I'm an intuitive reader in general, but I focus on those two modalities, and I'm also an intuitive healer. I focus more on clearing trauma, fear, and limitation out of the body, because I find that if we can clear those stuck energies and emotions out of the body, people remember who they are. And they start to be able to allow in the frequency that they actually want, instead of being limited by fear and noise and congestion that they've picked up that's not really them. So that's a lot of people would call that shadow work. So that's kind of what I focus on at the moment. So that's it. That's how I help people get to their life purpose and get on track. So
Absolutely. And right now, so many people are questioning, really, truly, what is their life purpose? What is their soul purpose? This whole quarantine has really created so much inner work, so much time for us to delve within ourselves, because we know what we don't like, kind of know what we like. How can we let go of what no longer serves us, and really truly create that spark, that passion within us, to create a soul purpose, a life purpose? And that is our topic today. And I'm going to just open for all of you. Go right ahead.
Oh, who's gonna go? Oh, I'll go.
okay.
Sure. Well, first of all, I think everyone needs to accept the fact that we're not going to go back to how things were. Okay,
Exactly.
We've got the age of Aquarius upon us. The year 2020 is about clear vision, and it adds to a 4, which is about building a foundation. So it's clear to me that we're all starting over, or we're all recalibrating, or maybe some of us, like Jean said, we're all realizing what work we've been doing and why it makes sense right now. And so I know that I'm a numerologist, and that gives me a little bit of support, but I like to look at the planets. And I know that there's some in effect that are very much related to the work that we do in the world. And so I think we can offer people that. We know it's going to change, right? So you can look at your numerology. You can get a tarot card reading. You can get counseling, right, Nina? That you find the support when you're having that question, because it is going to change. So step 1, say, all right, it's going to change. What support do I need?
I think that's wonderfully put, Trisha. And I feel like right now, currently, that is the question, is really, who am I? And I think that as an individual in an individual space of development, as we all are always, and now forced even more so to be on a global perspective, I think that having our identity as personal beings now matching a frequency vibration on this planet is trying to become in alignment. I think that a lot of people are asking that question: who am I? Who am I, and how am I best to fit in this new energy that I'm feeling? And finding purpose within that, I think, can be the challenge, absolutely. But I think it's also within the challenge, there is the answer. As within the curse and or the issue, there is the blessing. A lot with my clients is just really helping them take their individual identity and fit it into the planetary grid, and really work with their own energies, not other people's energies, not what's placed on us to fit back into and or to belong to, systemically speaking. And it's been interesting. And I think that we all can absolutely change to grab on to our purpose. But I think that it's going to take panels like these panels here, which I'm so much in a space of gratitude to be able to be a part of something like this, because that's what's needed. It's not just one that moves many, it's a circle. So, yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. The frequency has definitely shifted. the Schumann resonance is spiking up all over the place. So, it's spiking up from like, what was it, 7.52, it's spiking up to like 140. So, yeah, it's really spiking up and down, up and down. So when people and clients tell me like, I feel like I'm all over the place, I'm like, well, yeah, the earth is all over the place right now, because she's trying to realign ourselves, and we're also trying to realign ourselves. And it's kind of like perfect pitch. If you guys know, like when musicians have perfect pitch, when they hear a note that's like a semitone off, it sounds like nails on a chalkboard. And I feel like that's what people are doing right now, because we are all isolated and we're not plugged into the things that we would normally be plugged into. We're now starting to be way more sensitized to what's working and what's not working. And it's like perfect pitch. It's like, okay, yeah, this is a good situation, but something feels a little bit off. And I think people are finally giving themselves permission to allow something to feel off and not feel forced to do it anyways. And I don't think this is like the first time we've been in a world where it's like, wait a minute, what exactly do I want to do?
Yeah.
Like I have a choice. I have a choice. Yeah. Like our ancestors didn't have a choice. It's like, especially women, like, oh no, we're going to have a baby and we're going to take care of that baby. And that's pretty much it. We're not going to get educated. That's for the men. So now, like, we still are like, what was that? You started lagging.
Sorry to interrupt you. You bring up a really good point there, and that how like we are so, as women, societally and socially conditioned, and like really. And Christina, I think you and I talked about that. What is that? How do we define like our absolutely? Like we didn't have our ancestors didn't have that.
Sorry.
That poise, that new energy to open up into. They had mold, societal, codes and values and morals to be whatever that woman should be. And I think that now we're in this really cool space.
Yeah. We're redefining what it means to be a man and a woman, because men are becoming more sensitized, more feminine. Women are moving more into their masculine side. We're talking about the age of Aquarius, right? Well, Aquarius is an androgynous sign, and we're all balancing out this divine feminine, this divine masculine energy. And it's a beautiful thing, but we haven't been able to balance it out ever. We've had hyper femininity, hyper masculinity, and anywhere in the middle, it was like, there was no getting in the middle. There's the pendulum was swinging this way and that way. So it's really cool to see what's happening with that. But at the same time, I think a lot of people are like, wow, I'm really off course, especially women. They're like, wait a minute, what in the world have I done to myself? I said, I capitulated, I people pleased, I got myself into a situation where I gave all my power away. So now I'm having to pull it back in. And what does that mean? And then is it safe? Is it safe to be, I think there's some women that are even questioning whether or not it's safe to be a powerful woman. So there's a whole lot of shifts going on right now. It's all really beautiful. I keep telling people, like, do what you can. Like, if you can do an exercise where you're writing your values down, if you have a moment to like have some clarity and kind of write down the thoughts that are coming to mind and really dig deep and be like, does this excite me? Does this bring me joy? Cool. Stick on that. But at the same time, we're all purging a bunch of stuff. So one minute you might feel like this is amazing, and then the next day you're like, no, I'm over it. I'm done. I don't want to do that anymore. So yeah. So we're all kind of recalibrating at the moment, but I don't want to hog this. I feel like I've been
finding our inner guidance,
exactly.
Trusting, finding our inner guidance, really listening to ourselves and putting our foot down as to what we're able to, like setting the boundary. There's boundaries now that have to be, put up and also, taken down. What are we willing to put up with? What we're not going to put up with? What do we want for ourselves? It's really discovering our inner wealth, not materialistic things, but our inner wealth. And each one of us has that. And it's just a matter of bringing that out. What is our value to ourselves? What is our self-worth? And I tell you, it's priceless. It is absolutely priceless. So, Jean, go ahead. It's priceless.
Thank you. I came across this the other day and it really kind of switched things around for me. And we're always saying that we're humans trying to have a spiritual experience. We are souls going through the awakening experience as human beings. We are souls. When we get right down to it, we're just down here having a human experience that happens to be ascension right now. So it makes all of us a little bit crazy. And you were talking about the divine feminines, and here we've reached this point and we're looking around going, well, now what do I do? What do I do now? The men, the masculines out there, they have no idea. They don't have a clue. They don't know how to treat women anymore, because they try and give one of us a compliment and then we dump all over them because we find it offensive. So we're all struggling to unite the divine feminine within us with the divine masculine. And the more we can do that for ourselves, the more everybody else can work on being balanced also. It's our balanced energy that gives everybody else the freedom to work on balancing themselves. And it all starts within each one of us. So that's kind of where I'm at. Just been working on myself like crazy for the last 2 years, really knuckling down and doing past life things and just getting rid of all these emotions and memories and stuff that I don't need. Working on realizing that emotions are all just energy, and we're trained to interpret that energy as certain emotions, where if we catch it right from the get-go, we can go, wait, this is just energy. All I have to do is breathe and let it flow through me. I don't have to get sucked into the pain or the happiness. It's all just energy, and nobody teaches us that. We're just all kind of flying blind through this life here.
I say, Jean, as well, that I think that, like we were saying earlier about the dimension that we're in as human beings and what it presents, which is this bipolar duality, these good, bad, female, male, right, wrong, doctor, therapist, no collective, no 5D, no. The world is changing, and I feel like within the change that we're also being able to be offered up, like you're saying, a greater understanding of who we are, and we have multiple choices within that.
Yeah, it's a very interesting world we're moving into. It's not binary anymore, and we were starting to see the dominoes falling in that way, like the transgender movement. No binary. It's like, what's gender anymore? It's just all like it. And I think that's how, 5D is an interesting thing, because you realize that you're an individual, but like not really. Like, you're me and I'm you, and whatever I'm doing, you're also doing, because you are this element of the God force, right? Like we all are. We're just reflecting that energy back. It's a very weird thing to be shifting into when we've been in 3D for so long. And it was so based on, this is who I am. I'm my ego, and that's it. There's nothing else. Cause and effect, like light and dark. That's it.
Yeah.
And
for those that don't know that what 3D is, when we refer to that, or for those that don't know what 5D is, can you explain that?
Yeah, so they're different. They're different densities of frequency. So you have 3D, which is the thickest density that you have here on planet Earth, and then you move into 4D, which is more like time. Time is in the 4D realm. 5D is like, you think something and you get it. It's not really linear anymore. It's not so much like, oh, I throw this ball and it lands over there. 5D is like, yeah, I threw this ball and it landed over there, but it also caused this other synchronicity that's going to happen. And did the ball really land, or did I tap into a parallel reality where that ball already landed? It starts to get it. It's not like I'm going to do this thing and this thing's going to lead me to this. It's like, no, I'm going to shift mentally and physically and energetically into this frequency in which I already have the thing that I want. So that's kind of, I don't know if that makes sense or if I've overcomplicated that, but that's sort of where 5D is at. It's not so much about like what we're doing. It's more of like what our vibration
Consciousness.
is. It's consciousness and really what your vibe is at. And I don't know about you guys, but I've been experiencing lately, like there's a lot of people who, you know, during this process, it's like they're saying something, but their vibration is saying something completely different. And if you're an empath, you've probably already experienced this your entire life. It's just becoming more and more like unavoidable right now, where I have moments where I'm like, I want to get in someone's face and be like, that's not what you meant. Can we please just be honest here? Like we're ascending and I can see what you're thinking. Like, but I don't say that because I don't want to seem like I'm crazy. But yeah, I think more and more people are starting to, they want effortlessness, they want ease, and they're starting to realize that that's possible because they can feel it. It's a frequency shift. That's why people are like, who am I and what am I doing and what do I actually want? I don't have to go back to this job I don't like anymore. I don't know why I don't know why I know I don't have to, but I know I don't have to. Like, I don't know about, so it's like, I sense this optimism and this hope with people. They have no idea why they have that optimism and hope because everything else is crashing around them. It's like the house is on fire and they're just sitting there like, this is fine. So, that's kind of being in 5D because it's a feeling. It's a reality of like feeling and vibration. So
Absolutely.
Complete transparency, like you were saying earlier, Jate, it's complete transparency. Also realizing there's no separate. There's no separation. And the self-identity is really not about what we fit into anymore, any boxes. It's more about who are we as a signature, as a spiritual signature, as a soul, as a heart signature, as a spiritual being on this planet, not just a physical body, like you're saying earlier, Jean, very much that we are these spirits. And I get a lot of my clients asking me, I'm not this person anymore. I'm not in the ego anymore. Who am I? And I ask them, well, what is your intention? What here, right here, not here, because you can get caught here like all day long, right? Or not here, like you were saying earlier, physical trauma. You know, it can lock the body up, and you can begin to be in an identification system that's completely not even who you are. So really asking them, what is your intention? Where's your heart intention? Without the noise, in a place of self-care, without the people around you, all your family systems, energy pulling right, left at you. Clear. Let's get clear. So going back to what I think we wanted to talk about with life purpose is really, like we're all saying, it begins with the self-identification system and really identifying for ourselves, what is that within the grid that we are now experiencing on an evolutionary perspective. People have different ideas about what that could be, but I think it's important to bring it back to center.
Yeah.
And quoting that for
the
our
energy.
Women clients. What is center? What is center? Not here. And if it is here, let it be in alignment, mind, body, and spirit. That's been something I think has been really helpful for my clients, is helping them understand that connection, mind, body, spirit connection.
Absolutely. I was listening to Lori Ladd earlier, and she was saying that there's just been such a massive shift of the heart chakra opening up. And even people who aren't spiritually they're feeling a lot more into the situation, into just their environment, everything around them. They're starting to have empathy where perhaps their ego didn't allow them to. They're starting to look at things differently. Perspectives are shifting. Heart chakra is opening, making us a much more kinder and compassionate person. And I think that's absolutely what's needed right now. If this COVID thing has been absolutely tremendous, people have died, people are sick, people are fearful. It's happening. However, if you can center and know that this too shall pass, it will. You just go deep inside and have kindness, have compassion, have love for yourself and love for others. And you'll see with that energy shift, oh my gosh, maybe then that's where you'll find your soul purpose.
So if duality if duality still serves a purpose and we're fading out of it, then maybe it's possibly that compassion and empathy trumps fear and doubt with the bipolar realm, right? So maybe that's still helpful in that essence, and the identification of like, yes, I am empathy. I am my sisters. I am my brothers. I am my everything. I am all, you know. And I think it's hard because it triggers us in what we're going through, you know, as within, so without, you know, as we are locked in fear in this multiple hundreds and thousands of years of just fear-based psychology, you know, I feel like we get locked in these grids of fear. And now we're in this space of like, we don't have to be locked into fear anymore. And it's that choice, and it's wonderfully freeing. I think it's incredibly freeing, but it's also extremely scary. A lot of people don't know what that is. You know, they don't know what choices they have before them, but it's also extremely empowering as well to be able to say, oh my God, wait a minute, I do have choices. And as a woman, I have choices. As a man, I have choices.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say, that it is a choice. I had, so first of all, 5D is a 9 in numerology, and that's the number for being a humanitarian. And it encompasses all the energy, which repeats the age of Aquarius, right? Jete, you said that Aquarius is, what did you?
Well, yeah, so we're in the age of Aquarius. We've been in the age of Aquarius. This is sort of the shift. I mean, depending on who you ask, according to the Zulus, we're actually in 2012 now. So we're actually shifting now. But we did have Saturn go into Aquarius, which was our first little taste of this is what things are going to look like. So
Androgynous, that was
the word. Androgynous, that's what you were talking. Yeah.
That
so
was
that,
the word
yeah.
I was looking at.
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
And years ago, I read about this shift that was going to happen, and a lot of us thought it was 2012, and then they realized that this year is 2012, and that's, you know, it's happening now.
Mm-hmm.
And I read this book years ago, and it was very clear to me that we would have a choice, that each individual would come to the point where they stay or they go. Has anybody else gotten? Jean's nodding. Jean, can you answer that question?
Some people are going to stay in 3D. Those of us
that's what I
mean. Are tapped in, tuned in, and ready to move on and do something different with our lives. Some of us are in 5D all the time. Others of us are kind of bouncing back and forth between 5D and 3D, trying to find that adjustment of what works for us. What I find is really exciting about 5D is that we're getting the opportunity to co-create with the Creator. So whatever we can imagine, we can create now. And that's very exciting for me, because I can think of all sorts of things that I want to do and try and work on now. And not having I'll call it a real job anymore. I'm loving the freedom of being able to go with the flow of my day. And I don't have to be anywhere every day at a certain time. I don't have to do this during these hours. I can get up in the morning and decide, well, I think I'll go for a walk, and then I'll have some breakfast, and then I'll do the dishes. The cat box always gets cleaned first, because I have a tendency to forget that once I get moving into things. But after I do those things that I have to do every day, then I can go, what do I really feel like doing today? And that's kind of how we find our life purpose, is by following those little inklings of, well, I'd really like to paint today, or I think I'm going to play my guitar and maybe write a song today, or I'm just going to go out and everywhere I go, I'm going to smile at everybody. Of course, we can't see smiles nowadays because we're all supposed to be wearing our face masks, but you see it in the eyes. So it's, to me, it's just a really exciting time that we all chose to come down here and be here now to experience this and help the planet with her awakening also.
That's right. But a lot of people might, want to do all that, but then they're going to be like, well, how can I actually earn a living doing that? How can I use my life purpose, my soul purpose to actually create, monetary wealth for myself or for my family? A lot of people right now they're shifting, they're pivoting their businesses. They are going online for so many different things. They're being creative. The creative spark right now is so important. And maybe they're going to find, oh my gosh, I really love doing this, instead of going back to a 9-to-5 job working for someone else. You see,
Yeah.
I've always told clients, it's not what you do, it's who you are.
it's
It's
who you are. Yes.
Who you are. And stepping into that creative power of who you are, and you're not just your daily intentions, but your conscious reality, without the trauma, without the drama, without the must, shoulda, woulda, coulda. What's calling? Trusting. What is calling you? What feels good? God, do we even know, like, as women conditioned in this society, what feels good?
No.
And I think
a lot of the time, just the answer is a hard no. A lot of women have no idea what they want. I mean, people in general don't know what they want. And women weren't given permission to have a choice for a really long time. And it reminds me of this story when I was, so if any of you know about EMDR, it's a movement to process trauma out of the body. And there was a story about a guy who lived next to a drug dealer, and he had been tortured by this guy for like 5 years. And he had one EMDR session, and finally he was like, oh my God, I can just move. Why didn't I just move in the first place? But he was so scared to death, and because his mind and his body was in a fear state, he couldn't think. There is no empathy and compassion when you're in fear at all. And I think it kind of going back to the masks thing, people, it's so funny to me because there's half the people where the masks are coming off and they're finally realizing it's safe to not wear a mask anymore. And then there's other people that are like, no, I have to wear a mask because it's not safe to wear, like, to not have one.
And they shame the ones who don't.
Oh, it's so funny to me.
Yeah.
I won't go into a conspiratorial rant about this. I'll spare you. But yeah, it's interesting to me how there's some people that are letting go of all the fear and the safety issues, because that I feel like people know what they want as long as they can feel safe. Once someone feels safe and secure, the answers come. I tell people that, like, whatever, if I'm working with someone, I'm like, I don't know what your next step is. You have to answer that. What my goal is to hold your hand while we clear this stuff out so that you can hear the answer. Because right now there's too much noise. So we got to get you clear so the answer will come to you. And I promise you it'll come. And that's what's happening with a lot of people. If you don't have to go to a job that you hate and you have to fake it, and you're in a fear state all the time because you're afraid your boss is going to yell at you because you didn't sell a certain amount of things, and you're just like terrified all the time, and you go home and your relationship sucks because you don't like your job and your kids don't like you and blah, blah, blah. You don't have to deal with any of that right now. So we're feeling real safe at home. People got their stimulus check coming in. They got their $600 a week unemployment. They're like, all right, I'm Gucci right now. So and they don't even realize that's what's going on. It's like they're getting a mini Vipassana retreat where they're completely unplugged from everything and the answers are coming, and it's like they didn't even ask for it, but here it is. So that was it. That was my in thought.
I think that
period.
We have, I recall not till after I started doing my own numerology, but it helped me go back. You know how they say, well, go back to when you were 12. Like, what did you want to be when you were 12 or whatever? Yep. And so I went back in my head, and I remember very clearly a teacher in high school telling me I was going to be a teacher. And I think I laughed so hard that I peed my pants, because it was like the most ridiculous. Like, I hated teachers. I hated adults. I was like, no, not happening. And so I'm a teacher now, and I like it. And I also, my dad encouraged me to write. He's like, oh, Trisha, write me a poem. I'm like, write you a poem, Dad? Yeah, write me a poem. And so he encouraged my writing, and that seemed, you know, really far off and very far-fetched. So for people, if they can, just like Jate said, if they can just take a few minutes and clear, and try to tune in, they've probably had some clues that they just thought was so ridiculous.
Or their well-meaning parents came along and said, well, you want to be a horse trainer? You can't make any money doing that. I worked at Columbia Records in Santa Maria many long years ago, and made really good money. It was a great place to work at the time. They took very good care of us as employees. And my dad kept saying, well, why don't you be a secretary? Why don't you be a secretary? And that just made me want to barf at the time, because I knew that I could go into work in jeans and a tank top. I didn't have to dress up. I didn't have to spend a lot of money on clothes. And I was actually making more money than the secretary. So when I told him that, he shut up. Because money was always his bottom line. And eventually I became a professional belly dancer, and my dad was working on the clutch on my car, and I had 3 belly grams to do on one Saturday, so he had to drive me around. And when he saw how much money I made, he was very impressed, because it was like $400 that day, which was a lot of money in the mid-'80s.
Yeah.
So, you know, life changes. Going back to some of our last week conversations, having faith and trust that the universe is always going to take care of you. You can prove that to yourself. I've done it, and I don't tend to worry a whole lot about money anymore, because it always comes to me when I need it, because I know that the universe has my back. And to start getting to that, we start listening to our intuition, because that helps us out every day if we just shut up our minds and hear that little voice inside.
Yeah.
I think that's something I'm hearing all of us talk about, which is who we are in our life purpose has been very much retained for us as a socially conditioned response to our parents. And a lot of us have taken that road of like, okay, yes, I'll become that for which I'm handed, you know, or, you know, and maybe some of us have had parents that have encouraged us to do the, you know, have positive jobs that reflect our soul's purpose, and has very much pushed us closer to what that identification is in this world. And I think overall, like, that's important to look at, like, how do we create abundance from a space of fear that we're in currently culturally? And then how do we create abundance from a place of maybe that we were assigned at birth that doesn't even really match our true identity, like the work that we do? So like asking ourselves as women, like, truly, who am I and what was I given at birth? And does it present something for me now that I can learn from, that I can challenge myself to learn from, to step into my true identity? It's something that I think is really important for us to do currently as women, is really challenge that was presented to us. And also look at the positives as well too, because what we're given is often great amount of ancestral energy and gifts from our, you know, feminine line and our masculine line that encourage us to be step forward into where we now are now evolving on a planetary level, and really be leaders and a part of that as well. So there's that duality once again that presents itself, and then we're asked to have empathy for others and compassion for others in this process as well, for ourselves. Compassion for ourselves, you know, and for one another. You know, it's challenging, I think, for a lot of people, but I think that it's really where we are as children before we are socially conditioned to know difference, to know, you know, that this is better than this, or, you know, she has a toy that I don't have, you know, or you know. And it's interesting, that goes back to this study that I was rehashing a few months back with this Coca-Cola bottle that was dropped in the middle of an impoverished nation. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this one. And it was dropped from a helicopter down into this really impoverished nation. All these kids, they had nothing, this Coca-Cola bottle, and it hits the ground. And it was like a sociological study that was going on. And they thought that dropping this Coke bottle, that everybody was going to fight amongst each other. And they were going to say, oh, this is my Coca-Cola bottle. Belongs to me, mine. But what was funny is that they all took turns passing it around and playing games with it. And I think that really shocked a lot of sociologists at the time, and a lot of the psychologists who were part of the study. But it also gave way to a great understanding that maybe we are not the human condition, the warlike culture that we have been so programmed to believe that we are. Maybe there is an ancient, understanding of who we are as souls, as civilizations, that's been buried from us. You know, there's a lot of knowledge that we have, but there's not a lot of wisdom that is given to us.
Wisdom is earned.
Yeah.
This is the
Night
time
again.
now.
Yeah, we don't have the same tribal elders anymore, the holders of the
No.
wisdom. We, especially in like America, it's like, what is that? It's like, oh, did you go to this school? Okay, well then I'm not going to listen to anything that you're saying. And not to mention the burning of all the libraries, like, and even the Bible's been modified and edited, and the part where they're like, hey Jesus, how do you pray? They just rip those out of the pages. So I mean, it's definitely been a coordinated effort to keep us in the dark, which
Yes.
it's like, okay, well, we were in a sleep Kali Yuga, right? So now we're starting to wake up out of it. So, and we have internet now, we have access to this stuff, and so that's
Connect.
cool. Like, we live in a communication golden age, which also helps us towards our life purpose, because we have access to so much information now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where now the knowledge is available online, and then we can absorb it and then apply it into our lives and then create wisdom out of it, and kind of make our own new way of doing with things. I mean, that's another thing that's crazy about what I feel is going on too, is that we don't have any direction. We're really having to figure everything out from the very beginning. At least that's what it feels like with the people I'm dealing with, and in my own life, is that there kind of was a map, and then that map sort of like went fuzzy, and so now we're in the fuzzy part, kind of trying to figure it out. That's kind of the fun of it, though, because now it's like, well, what do you like? It goes back to like, what do you want? Because you can create anything. There's literally a reality for it if you desire it. You can tap into it. So that's that was it. Another period. Right at the end of that one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What all these choices, what do we want? And
Yeah.
it's like that space, like you would hope that we got to a place on an evolutionary perspective where we're like, well, I think we need a little more compassion, or I think obviously like you were saying, Jane, like some of us are not going to wake up. Like some of us are not going to, right? So there are those people that will never answer that. Then we have people that are going to wake up and they will be able to answer that. But how they answer it, I think, is so important to whether or not we continue to evolve here on this planet and stay here. We can't go forward anymore. Trisha, I mean, sure, like doing people's charts, right? Can't go forward anymore from these alignments that we're in, these numerological, ways that we are aligned to be in greed and or attached to, codependent, or in pain, or in our fear and our adversity, So really having our new self-identity and defining our soul's purpose and our life's purpose is contingent upon us surviving and going forward and evolving into the next earth space, so to speak.
New earth.
A new
We're
earth.
creating new earth.
New Earth. Yep, that's Umayana's New Earth Tapestry. I love that. Yeah, it really is. Nothing's going to go back the way it was, and people are
Thank
going to
God.
be shifting. And I think it's really an internal shift too. And you know, their intuition is sharpening up. Things are changing because what we're doing, we're looking at nature too. Look at nature. Oh my gosh, people are starting to really feel the healing power of nature and going for a walk and seeing the trees and everything. There's been a lot of commercials, even commercials, you know, with more empathy and kindness and compassion. I haven't seen that ever, I don't think. So I really feel that we will come out of this different, but in a better soul searching way. And, you know, I'm really, really hoping that people can just let go of the fear of failing, be vulnerable, and allow and be open to receive what spirit is telling you. Follow your passion. What is that passion? You have to search for it. It's in you. Just there's certain exercises you can do, which I'm sure each one of you can enlighten us on.
Maybe that would be part 2.
Part 2, yes. I know one thing I did want to
Practical
touch.
steps.
Huh?
Practical stuff people can do.
Oh, absolutely
Yes.
practical. Yeah, absolutely. Like Trisha, you mentioned, you know, writing it out. You know, ideally, what is your life? You know, what do you want out of your life? Ideally, if money was no object, write it all down. I know Jate, you love doing that intentional visualization. I love that too. Intentional visualization is when you set a timer for 10 minutes and you imagine in your mind's eye, not the how, but the why. Okay, because you have your why. The how will come later. You already imagine how your life will be. You know, like with the full on the everything, bliss and abundance, massive bliss and abundance. What does that look like for you? Intentionally visualize that in your mind's eye for 10 minutes with your eyes closed. And what a trip. Your mind will take you through this incredible journey because there are no obstacles, not even yourself. And so when you get to the end of that 10 minutes, write it down or just kind of relax in that bliss and abundance that you allowed yourself and were open to receive. It's a beautiful, beautiful exercise. I encourage everyone to do it.
Yeah, we can do it for each other too. You know, that came from Lynn McTaggart and her books about the field,
Circle
the
of
intention
8.
experiment. Exactly. You can get 8 people. And then I was a part of these intention groups. That's how I did a lot of
So am
massive
I.
healing. I would have,
Okay.
you know, every week we'd pick one person, or every day we'd pick one person and intend upon them. We'd ask, what do you want? And then they would tell us and we'd be like, okay, already done. We'd go to the end and it's like, okay, well, we're going to help you shift that frequency because we're also a fragment of you too. So
Awesome.
we're all going to help you out with that one. It's an amazing thing that we all have access to do. Like, because sometimes we do get lost and we kind of have a vague idea, like maybe I just want to be happy, and we can help each other intend for the other person to be happy, and then it'll kind of work itself out. It's really cool, magical way of, I mean,
The
that's the new
circle of
world.
8. Yes,
Yeah.
it's the 8. Infinity. What comes around goes around, right?
Exactly. That 8 is a
Circle of
powerful
8.
number.
Yeah.
Yep.
Manifestation. Talking my language.
Yeah.
I think it's important to definitely discuss coping and retention and allowing people to feel safe and kind of exploring with people like how they feel safe and what that looks like for them. Because in order to shift people, in my own experience, 2 people can do it if they're in agreement energetically. But yes, groups of 8, larger groups, the better, right? Because the higher the energetic frequency. But I think it's really important to make sure first, before people are shifting, that they take the time to explore with themselves what is safe and how do I cope in order to go from a space of groundedness and grounded to be able to shift into an appropriate space that's in a full alignment and agreement with the body and the soul and the mind. That's been my experience with shifting people. So I definitely encourage all my women clients to find what is safe to them and how they cope, and then take them from that space into shifting into higher consciousness.
Yeah, I completely agree. Because be careful what you wish for, right? Because you'll get it. So if you're not clear, you'll get something that you didn't actually want. So
You'll get
yeah,
somebody else's husband if you wish
exactly.
for a husband.
There you go. There you go. So that's very, yeah, that's completely on point. And it goes back to life purpose. You got to know who you are. Like it's the most important thing at this time. You do whatever you have. It's the main priority. It's like you do whatever you have to do to figure that out, whichever tool is going to work for you, whatever resonates with you. But really, I mean, they put it on the secret schools for a reason. Know thyself. If you know yourself, you're the most powerful person in the room.
Self-mastery.
Yep.
It'd be great to talk, I think, amongst each other about how do we know ourselves, and maybe share our life stories, some of our pivotal moments, and how we found our most core essence of who we are, to encourage other women to engage in that process. I think storytelling is something that's definitely been lost, and I think that here we have that opportunity to do that.
Sounds like we've got a part 2 and a part 3 to this.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there any closing little thoughts that you'd like to leave today with today's meeting? Anyone? Oh my
Closing
goodness.
thoughts.
I know, there was so much. I just, seriously, this is great. I mean, this is our first recorded, Gaia Girl Collaborative. I am so grateful to each one of you. And, we're going to be posting this on Facebook next Tuesday. So we're going to call it Intuitive Tuesdays at 2. And I'm really excited. I really hope that the community will tap into it, and I will be making posts about it and encouraging people, so then you guys can share it and everything if you'd like. And so if we can just keep this going and open the conversation, I think it'll be great, because then people can respond and ask questions, and then I can get back or post the question to any one of you. But thank you so much for all of your guidance and your wisdom, and the energy here was just fantastic. Thank you.
Yay, Wellness Warriors.
Christine.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, thank you for
You're
having
welcome.
us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, see you girls
fun.
again.
Yeah, this was great.
Bye.
Yeah.
Okay. Blessings. Heart. Bye. Leave meeting.
End meeting.
End meeting. Bye.
End meeting.